This is Horror Sucks. This week, Ashley took too long to say the intro, so I'm doing it. I'm Carter Rhodes, and I just got back from Texas with one of the worst caffeine-related illnesses of my life.
I'm Ashley, and I was waiting for the go because you said you were waiting for a page to load.
I did the finger okay sign. You just looked at me and didn't say anything, so I took the initiative.
I did not see the finger okay sign. I'm sorry.
So this week, we're talking about Barbarian. This past week, I was in Texas for work, and I just felt miserable. I really, it was just physically one of the worst weeks of my life. It culminated in me throwing up in the bathroom of the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, and a coworker, in a separate, unrelated conversation, offhandedly mentioned that she sometimes got nauseous when she drank too much caffeine, and I had a usual suspects moment where everything clicked to me, and I realized that almost everything that I'd been feeling could be explained by drinking too much caffeine.
And on that note, I would like to say that I pre-gamed this recording by drinking a shot of espresso.
Okay, good.
Because I've been complaining that I've been too tired when we record.
Yeah,
but
I did actually say to Ashley, you need to have a more interesting intro than I'm tired.
But you took that away from me.
I did, yeah. I took the initiative literally and physically. So, I am officially caffeine-free. I felt like a junkie all weekend, getting clean. Luckily, I had football to help me through it. And we watched Barbarian.
Yeah, we watched Barbarian yesterday, so we've had a day to digest. But for those of you who are new here, hey, what's up? Thanks for joining.
Some of my fellow underwriters might be listening for the first time.
Very nice. Ooh, good episode to tune in, I think.
Pretty sure only Devin said that he would listen, but
that's okay. That's more than 0. So thanks for joining, Devin specifically.
Yeah.
But how this is going to work, we're going to give the plot of the movie with some spoilers, and then we will give some fun facts about the movie. And
there will be full spoilers, by the way. That was a misleading sentence.
Okay. Whatever.
We will tell you how this movie ends.
Fine, you're right. Then we will go into some fun facts, and then our favorite segment, the good, the bad, and the spooky. And then we'll finish up with our overall impressions and ratings.
And then if there's any time at the end, we'll tell you what we're watching next week.
Also, it's never right.
So, yeah, we are just atrocious at picking what...
Well, we actually know what we're going to do next week. It's just whether or not this movie comes out before Cabin in the Woods or after.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that...
And all of you listening going, what? I don't understand what's going on. I apologize for confusing you.
Cabin in the Woods was filmed a couple weeks ago. We missed a week, so we have 3 episodes in the tank at this point.
Yeah,
Did you upload Orphan?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm definitely going to leave that pause in there as my brain just desperately struggled to figure out what word.
I knew what you were going to say. I waited
know
for you to
did.
say.
I know that's why you didn't say anything. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys about the plot. So it follows the main character, Tess. She books an Airbnb in this kind of crappy neighborhood of Detroit. She's going for a job interview. She keeps getting phone calls from some guy named Marcus that's literally never elaborated on. She offhandedly mentions she keeps going back to her ex. That's it.
Yeah.
So she arrives at the house and unfortunately discovers that someone named Keith has already rented the house. So Keith, offers to let her stay there because there's a convention in town and she's not going to be able to get a hotel otherwise. So she stays there. And
you need to describe Keith.
Keith is Bill Skarsgård. He's tall, he's polite, but he's pretty awkward.
He's got major nervous energy, which just comes off as full red flag creep.
Mm-hmm. He talks weird too. He's like, oh, there's that convention in town, which in universe, obviously he wouldn't be able to book every hotel and fake that. But hearing someone say something that vague is definitely a red flag.
Also, he keeps offering to give her something to drink, and I think that's just him trying to do something because he's, again, nervous, but...
And technically a host at this point.
Yeah, true. But it just comes off as he's trying to put something in her drink so that she'll drink it.
And he was thoughtful, too. Is like he waited to open the bottle of wine until she was in the room because he was like, oh, I noticed you didn't drink the tea because you thought I might put something in. That's okay. So I thought I'd just wait till you saw it. And it was like...
While polite...
It was thoughtful, but saying it made it weird, even though it was like
it
totally...
made it extra creepy because only a creep will acknowledge the fact that you didn't drink that because you thought I drugged it.
Yeah,
like
only... I don't know. Anyway, they end up getting along. They drink some wine, and Tess goes to bed, and she makes a whole deal of every time she goes in the bathroom, she locks it, and for whatever reason, maybe she's drunk, she doesn't lock the door. And she wakes up in the middle of the night, and the door's open, and Keith is doing this kind of like making noise in his sleep, and Tess wakes him up, and he's equally weirded out that she's kind of standing over him.
Which makes sense. The impression is he was having like a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And just...
I mean, honestly, that wasn't weird at all to me.
No.
I don't know if my friend Adam listens to this podcast, but I roomed with him, and he talks like that in his sleep sometimes. It's just truly just nonsense. Like, it
was a little more...
It was definitely distressed, but...
Yeah.
But it wasn't at all concerning to me. I've a million times been like, Adam, wake up, you asshole.
Yeah, he kind of... At one point, though, his body was shaking, looked like he was having a seizure. So I understood her concern, but I would have gotten up and shut the door.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, she wakes up. He's gone. He left a note. Kind of long story short, she goes for a job interview, comes back, and is just kind of... She's chased by a homeless man who basically just tells her not to stay in the house. And while looking for a roll of toilet paper, she goes to the basement. The door shuts on her, and she starts exploring the basement and discovers that there's basically a murder dungeon. She tries to leave. Yeah. So Keith comes back, and so she's full on, like, she finds a room with a bed and a bucket and a camera in it. So she's like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And Keith is like, I'm going to be honest, it sounds like you just described every basement ever. There's an old bed in there and a bucket. So he's like, I gotta check it out. And he doesn't come back up. So Tess follows him, and she finds an even deeper murder basement where he says that something bit him. And he's like crawling around. He's like, we gotta get out of here. And she's trying to lead him back up the stairs, but he goes, no, that's where it came from. And this giant naked woman comes around the corner, grabs him, bashes his head against a rock, and kills him. Almost literally hard cut to...
Not almost. It is literally a hard cut.
Just one of Jess's boyfriends from New Girl.
It's Justin Long.
Yeah, Justin Long is driving his car.
We're in now sunny California, driving along the beach.
So I'm just going to speed this along. He had like a Harvey Weinstein-esque allegation where his co-star accused him of rape. And so there's like this 20-minute period of his life getting worse and worse. He's running out of money. His accountant doesn't want to work for him anymore. All kinds of stuff. And so he returns to one of his houses to sell it, which turns out to be the house that Keith and Tess are staying at. I don't know if I said Justin Long's name. You know, I'm not even going to bother. It's not important. It's Justin Long. So he goes to sell it and ends up exploring the basement where Tess has been kept for the past couple weeks. And it's revealed that this old woman is like trying to raise people as her baby.
I think old is not the right word.
She's pretty old.
She's decrepit.
That's fair. Okay, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, she's not just old. She is like, she's terrifying.
Yeah.
She's barely human. Like,
picture your like frail elderly grandmother if she was fucking yoked. Like if she could deadlift 250, that's what this woman looks like.
She's tall. She's like, just
a
genuinely
terrifying
horrifying.
Thing to look at. Yeah. So anyway, she captures Justin Long and throws him in the same cage as Tess, and then like gives the milk, and And then there's another hard cut to the past where it's like a serial killer lived here. And that's the extent of the flashback. You don't need to know anything else. Serial killer used to live there. Long story short, they end up escaping, or Tess escapes. Justin Long doesn't. And a homeless guy reveals that the serial killer would bring women down there and then rape them and have children and then rape the children, which created like this incestuous thing.
It also created deformities.
Yes. Justin Long escapes into the basement. He's not out of the house. Finds the old man still there. Gives the guy a gun. The guy kills himself. Justin Long has a gun now. Runs around through the thing. Tess comes back to save him. He shoots her. They escape together. They go to the homeless man's like little shelter thing. And he's like, it's okay, it's safe here. And the woman bursts through. And then they run up to the top of a silo. And then he goes, only one of us can survive. And he throws her off the silo. And then the old woman dives off after her. And then Justin Long goes down to the bottom. And he sees that Tess is alive. And he's like, oh, good, you're alive. I didn't mean to kill you. And then it turns out the old woman was also alive. And she kills him. And then the old woman is like cradling Tess. And then Tess shoots her. And then it hard cuts to the credits while it plays Be My Baby.
I loved the credits scene.
I unironically, that was so, like, I felt that gunshot because of the hard cut to the credits.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was very
The mood
impactful.
Did not fit whatsoever.
No.
But I did like that just, bam, movie's over. It was really jarring.
But then also during the credits, they have scenes of her trying to like walk away and save herself, but...
Well, that wouldn't have been a great ending if it just suddenly ended, so it had a little bit of falling action, but that didn't diminish from the
exactly
blast of the ending.
To be honest, I really loved that the credit scene did not match the mood of the movie.
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay, so let's get into this in a bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit, a couple of fun facts.
Okay, perfect. So this movie was written and directed by Zachary Krager, who is actually an actor. He's known for some sitcoms like Friends with Benefits, Guys with Kids, and Wrecked. Didn't say that if this was his first directing role, but I couldn't find anything else he's directed. But he also wrote it, which the movie is based on the book The Gift of Fear, which Zach Krager read. And basically, it encourages women to trust their intuition when confronted by obvious, dangerous men. And he used this as like a writing exercise and then began kind of crafting a short film, which then he expanded into this movie.
Part of the thing that's wild to me about that fact, this is like the only fact I heard about ahead of time, that's just horror as a genre, is people continuously ignoring red flags.
Yeah.
It's not like this new revolutionary thing of like, uh-oh, women, this is what happens when you ignore red flags. That's the entire genre.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just so weird to me.
It's definitely a prevalent theme throughout the movie, but it's also definitely not elaborated or established, really.
Yeah.
Anyways, let me get into this cast, though. Because I actually thought it was a pretty decent cast. Georgina Campbell as Tess. She's known for her roles in Broadchurch. She also had an episode of Black Mirror. And then Bill Skarsgård as
love him.
Keith. Yes.
He's the next Doug Jones.
Doug Jones?
Doug Jones.
Who's that?
Alabama senator.
Oh.
No, it's that's a dumb joke.
Okay.
It's Doug Jones is basically every horror monster you've ever seen. He's just this tall, skinny guy.
You've talked about Doug Jones before.
Where he's just the go-to guy where if they need someone to wear a spooky costume, they have him do it.
Yeah.
The Doug Jones thing, there was also a senator from Alabama named Doug Jones. That was the joke.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So he plays Keith. He's obviously known for his role in It as Pennywise the Clown. He also was a voice actor in Eternals. And he's in the upcoming show Clark on Netflix. He also was in Castle Rock.
Mm-hmm. I don't mean to be mean to Bill Skarsgård, but he's been in so little good things, like It, and then the rest no one saw.
Yeah.
But people still know Bill Skarsgård.
People saw Internals. I saw Internals. I didn't think it was...
Okay, well, first of all, it's Eternals.
You're right. Okay, whatever.
Not to be a dick, but...
Eternals.
No. You were saying internals.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So you see why I corrected you, right?
I thought I was saying Eternals.
Maybe
Eternals
you were, but
is
I
better.
heard internals.
Good Lord. Anyways,
God,
I
we're
saw that
at
movie.
peak unhinged, and we haven't even hit the good. Okay, keep going.
Okay, and then Justin Long as AJ, the actor. And he's known for Jeepers Creepers, Dodgeball.
New Girl.
I'm getting there.
Sorry.
He's the voice of Alvin in Alvin and the Chipmunks.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was pretty shocked by that one, too.
Wow.
It was, like, low on the list, and I was like, this has to go down.
Yeah.
And, of course, New Girl,
Yep.
which New Girl didn't even hit the list.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
he played like 4 episodes in it.
I think it was more than that, but
It honestly was probably pretty close to 4.
I think he had 4 initial episodes and then had a few scattered about.
I think there was like 4 that he was in, then maybe 1 where just cheated with him. And then 1 where it was him as the clown. So
I think you're right.
It was a really small bit role.
And then last but not least, I don't know what I just said, Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother.
Interesting.
I don't know what he's been in. I could not get a lot of information. It was a lot of like different kinds of stuff, but yes. So the movie had a $10 million budget, and they so far have made $28 million. Mm-hmm. So surprisingly, actually, pretty cheap.
I mean, it's
Scream
not
was-
that surprising. There wasn't a ton of
No, there
effects
wasn't. Yeah,
Scream,
but even still.
most of it must have gone to the actors. They had a lot of really high-profile actors in that.
Yeah, I was just going to say Scream was only 4,000 more. No, 4 million more. Million.
That is
They were
surprising.
14 million for original Scream.
Yeah.
All right. So this movie, can you guess the Rotten Tomato score?
Yeah, but I'm cheating because I think you told it to me. 92%.
96%.
Absolutely absurd.
Okay, I have a theory that we'll get into later.
Okay. Is your theory that they release the movie to a few select critics who they have like an unspoken agreement with that they'll be like, wow, so good?
No.
Okay.
My theory is that the genre, the bar is set so low that anything that is decently scary gets highly rated.
That's also possible. I feel like they have a couple of like buddies in the critics thing where they're like, you as a friend of the industry can review it first. Wink, wink.
The audience score though is like 7.6, which is pretty high for horror.
Yeah.
You know, like
I think people see a decently made movie and are afraid that like that has a modicum of theme to it, and they're like, well, if I say I don't like it, people are gonna think I'm an idiot who didn't get it.
That's also true. So Zach Cregger originally offered the role of AJ to Zac Efron, but Efron turned it down.
Yeah.
Well, I think Efron would have been a great fit for the role. There's no way he's gonna do this like B-level horror movie.
I also wouldn't. If I were an actor, I don't think I would play an actor who's a rapist. It just, it just really kind of sends the bad message about your brand.
Yeah. Anyways, so not credited, but Jordan Peele did have an invisible hand in shaping the movie. Good friends with Cregger, and he spoke to him a lot when he was writing the film. And Peele saw an early cut of it as well. So he definitely was kind of part of the essence of the movie. Mm-hmm. Which part of me is like, I have a hard time believing because the plot was so bland. But then you can definitely tell there are some influences, especially in those hard cuts.
Yeah.
So the film is set on 476 Barbary Street. And the year 476 was when the barbarians invaded Rome. Also, they believe that Barbary Street is a play on words for barbarian.
Actually, that's one of my complaints about this was they didn't really explain what barbarian is, except like, oh man, these people are killers, they're barbarian. But barbarian, that word would mean from Barbary. And that woman, by definition, would have been barbarian then. That's really interesting. I like that, actually.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I didn't know the definition of barbarian was from Barbary, because, like, in modern culture, the term barbarian is associated with someone who lacks...
savage, like, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So anyways, lastly...
I believe it comes from the Barbary Coast.
Oh, okay.
But I can't be sure.
Listen, the only thing I know about Barbarians is the TV show James the Barbarian or something like that, which tells me how uneducated I am. So when AJ is going through Tess's luggage, when he gets to the Airbnb, he pulls out a copy of Jane Eyre, which features an insane woman who is locked away. So there's a little foreshadowing. It's not really a fun fact, but I figured I would include it. And that's it. So are you ready for the good?
I am ready for the good.
Okay.
The good. Dun, dun, dun. Best part of this movie, I would say, is the tension. And this ties into one of my other points, which is that they do a really good job with light. But when they're going through the tunnels, the camera just does an outstanding job of concealing what you can see so that you feel cramped, claustrophobic, and blind. But they don't use it as a cheesy thing where rounding the corner, there's a jump scare waiting for you. Its only purpose is to make you tense and scared. And then it hits you with a true jump scare that it earned.
Yeah. No, the tension is so... I genuinely was sitting there like quaking in my boots because I was afraid of what was coming around.
I saw you cover your ears a couple of times. Which,
More
by the
than
way,
a couple.
Yeah, which, by the way, is how you get through a jump scare if...
Okay, Carter taught me this, and it is the best trick. If the music gets quiet, there's a jump scare coming. And what they do to enhance the jump scare is play loud music. So if you cover your ears, you'll miss the audio effect of it, which will then visually make it easier to see.
Yeah. It's essentially just like a silencer. It makes it just less scary, easier to bear.
And I don't want to close my eyes and miss it.
Yeah, exactly. The build-ups for this, by the way, the music cut like 60 seconds before each jump scare.
Oh, yeah.
They made you wait so long, which just built up the tension.
There were a few times where I like took my hands off my ears and then I got scared because the jump scare came. And then there was times where I was just sitting there with my hands over ears waiting for it and it didn't come.
Yeah, it really did.
It was good.
It had a masterful attention to that sort of thing.
Yeah. So onto the lighting. I really liked the lighting, specifically in the tunnels. They did a really great job of kind of it also, like you said, kind of creating that crampedness, but also like framing each object in the tunnel, because when we saw the woman, we really never saw her in full light. It was always distorted or, like not seen at all. And it was really good. But then also they used a great kind of contrast with light when they did the hard cuts. And I thought it was really good because it was only ever hard cut from the caves. So it was really not dark. It wasn't dark. It was just dampened and then it would be super bright.
Yeah, like the sunny California road. I guess you're right.
Yeah, and also when they cut to the past, it was like a super bright day looking at this yellow house. I thought it was good.
And I can't stress enough how well the tunnel was lit. Like, it was pitch black, except you weren't asked to see anything there.
Yeah.
Like, so I just don't know how to explain it, except, like, it was the good kind of dark, where you could make out things, and it made you feel blind, but you weren't looking at a screen like, I can't see shit. What the fuck am I supposed to be looking at?
It felt very realistic. You saw as much as the character was seeing, truly.
Yeah, there was definitely like a wall of black that you couldn't see through. And then when the woman would like step through it, she would like very slowly, you'd make out movement and then she'd start to form. It was really good.
It was really good.
I don't know if you noticed, but when she arrived at the Airbnb, she looked around and all the houses, all the lights were out. So the only light that was on was in Barbary Street. Just another
light reference. That's interesting. I mean, you see why the next day when no one else is living at the houses, but... Which
was also a good scene where the first one made you think like, oh, she's isolated. The second shot of just it being kind of a shithole of just a bunch of abandoned houses, she's like, oh, this is a really bad part of town.
Yeah, and then she starts driving, and there's just more and more bad houses. Like, this really is the only house for probably at least a mile, if not more. I mean, I have a whole thing on the setting. But I wanted to talk more about the filming at the camera work as well, because while we were in the caves, they did a really good job of showing different views. Some of it was behind the character, so you see the back of their head. Some of it was like in front of the character, so it was like almost like found footage vibe, like first person perspective. And it was really good job of, again, building that tension and not giving you everything all at once. And the camera was also kind of shaky, which enhanced. At first I was like, I hate this. But in the tunnels, like, it very much enhanced the creepiness and gave that like found footage vibe, which I really liked about it.
Yeah, they definitely, I can think of one scene where Justin Long had the flashlight and the gun, and they would cut between a shot of like a fixed shot from a certain distance of his face, like Requiem for a Dream. And then it would cut from that to from his point of view, where all you could see were his hands shaking. The camera work was outstanding in this movie.
Also, they had some really great close-ups of their faces. Like, again, I know we're hammering home this tension building, but at one point it zooms right into Bill Skarsgård's face. And this was after we established he's not actually creepy, but the shadowing created by his face tilted down was just like absolutely terrifying. It was great.
The sound design was pretty good. I have some criticisms about it, mainly just that it's kind of predictable. But they would cut. They use silence really well, just like they use darkness well. And there's one scene where the camera's moving towards Tess when she's in a car, and you can hear like screams getting louder and louder. And as soon as it passes the window, all the sound cuts out. That was I saw it coming a mile away, but it was still a good shot. I enjoyed it.
I think there's a difference between like something that you know is coming but
I know what you're trying to say. Is it doesn't need to be subversive to be good.
Thank you. Yes.
I enjoyed it. It didn't need to blow my mind, that one shot. I saw it and I thought, cool.
Yeah.
It just wasn't anything groundbreaking.
Yes. So I want to talk more about the setting. This house was so freaking creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, so she pulled up at night, which fine, like that makes sense that she wanted to stay there. It didn't really question the surrounding area. But the next morning when she wakes up, and we already kind of brought it up, but the fact that like no houses around it are even standing livable, like they're all basically torn down. I would have packed my stuff up and left.
As a guy, I would have packed my stuff up and left.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a deeply sketchy thing.
It was so sketchy. But then also the tunnels, and
it also definitely implies something, which is that people willing to trash the nearby houses were not willing to go into this house.
That's also a good point, yeah. Which makes it even more creepy.
Exactly.
That just makes it so much worse. Yeah. Because even just looking at it plain with the thing on, you're like, man, this neighborhood sucks. But then you're like, why is this house in such good condition? That's a really good point. The other thing, the tunnels, I mean, first of all, I would not pull on a rope that's coming out of the wall. For starters, I feel like, and I know the point of the movie is that she goes against all the red flags. I get it. But that's not actually the point. But that was the intention of the beginning. But I just sit there and I'm like, are you really that stupid? Are you really stupid enough not to just go save yourself?
That's something I really did like that they kind of briefly explored about. I'm going to talk about this immediately when we get to the bad.
Okay, good.
But they did briefly touch upon how men and women react to certain situations differently, with the subtext being they're also talking about horror movies. She said, if you came here and you were double booked and I offered you a house, you wouldn't think anything of it. You'd just be like, yeah, sure. Whereas I had to be all afraid. So that was interesting, especially because then when what's his name? When Keith was like, okay, well, a bed with a bucket in the same room just kind of sounds like a basement. That's the same kind of like women see this as the reddest of flags, and guys are like, well, hold on.
Okay, to be fair, being described that you saw a bed in a basement with a bucket is not unsettling, but you can't tell me if you went into a basement and saw that room, you wouldn't be freaked out.
Oh, I would be freaked out, but I'm just saying she relaying that information, I see why it wasn't freaky.
Yeah.
She said, oh, there's a bed and a bucket and a camera. I'm like, what is it, a basement?
That's true.
Seeing it was terrifying. Don't get me wrong.
Okay. Seeing it though, I wouldn't even try to look further. Why did they go down the stairs? I would have left, called the police, been like, hey, there's like stairs underneath this house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's down there, but there's also this bed with this camera. I think you need to investigate. Because there's something implied there that maybe there was a crime that took place, whether it was, 50 years ago versus recent. Like, and I'm sorry, he's like, wait 30 seconds for me. I'd wait my 30 seconds and then I would go. Yeah. Carter, if you went to the basement...
No, I mean, I understand.
I would leave you there.
You don't set up a timer if you're not okay with it dinging. Yeah.
The other thing too, sorry, I'm still harping on her though. Yeah. She then, I guess, it's still good because she is a caring person and it creates her character, but freaking Justin, she's like, I can't leave him. I'm like, yes, you can. But then she does try to get police and they ignore her. That is true.
That's another theme that the movie tried to set up is police being unhelpful, which is exceptionally fitting considering the new Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix, wherein the police literally saw a naked, bleeding victim of Jeffrey Dahmer, unable to even hold a conversation, and let Jeffrey Dahmer take custody of him back into his apartment. It's fitting to say that serial killers and villains can take advantage of like stereotypes of like, oh, this is a bad neighborhood. This woman's probably just a crackhead. Stuff like that.
That's a good point.
So that's everything good about this movie.
I thought the acting was good. Bill Skarsgård did a great job. He's a good actor. I don't know why he's not getting more work other than the fact that he's a creepy looking dude.
No, well, I think the thing is he's getting plenty of work. I think he just can't pick movies to save his life.
I think this movie did him well.
If you offered me the opportunity to be in Castle Rock or any random movie ever, I would pick any random movie ever because Stephen King has an atrocious track record with being converted to movies.
That's true.
I just don't believe that after it, the phone only rang for Castle Rock.
Oh no, I there was a lot there. I just, picked what I knew. I didn't even actually write down Castle Rock. I just knew it off the top of my head.
Okay.
Castle Rock season 1 showed a lot of promise. Castle Rock season 2, I stopped watching it. Anyway,
Ashley, I watch Under the Dome. Is this where you want to go with this conversation?
Castle Rock is much better than Under the Dome.
Maybe it's better than Under the Dome season 1.
It's better than all of Under the Dome.
Again, is this a conversation you want to have, or can we move on to the bad?
I have one more thing to say.
Oh yeah.
We haven't really talked about the horror elements, and I know you're probably saving them for the spooky. All I'm going to say is that the horror elements are in the good. This movie had a great understanding of horror, not of the plot, but the horror delivered. And I know we have kind of briefly touched upon it, but I wanted to make a good statement on it. But yes, we can move on to the bad. The bad.
So the worst part about this movie is that there's no real coherent themes. They set up the groundwork for a lot, like the men versus women in dangerous situations, like serial killers kind of take advantage of stereotypes of the kind of Detroit. Because this was a theme, is Detroit kind of becoming a worse place to live? Because it did show those same suburbs.
And everyone was moving out.
Yeah. Because the and I quote, neighborhood is going to shit, which was just, 1970s lingo for a black person moved to nearby. So they set up that groundwork and did nothing with it. The movie just had no coherent themes except, like, murder's bad.
No, I have to agree with you. I wish it just picked one thing to focus on in terms of theme.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can have, sub-themes and other hints of things, but, like, choose a central theme and then build upon that.
I don't even feel like it was torn between so many things that it was bad. I feel like it just forgot. It just didn't even bother doing anything.
It touched upon things and then just left it in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
The plot of this movie was just...
train wreck.
Disappointing. I mean, you strip away all the great horror, it's a boring movie.
It really is a boring plot. It's like, woman goes down into basement. She's there for a while. She escapes. She comes back for a friend. They escape. He dies.
Yeah.
That and the time jump with AJ was set way too late in the movie. It was.
I have whole points about the hard cuts because they're just.
All right. Do you want to keep at the plot then?
Yeah, I got some more things to say.
We'll get back to why that part sucked.
It's not an interesting movie.
Mm-hmm.
There also, it gets really muddy with all these different plot lines. And I guess you just kind of touched upon that, but we'll get more into that. But it muddies the story. It makes no sense.
And AJ was so barely related to the story.
Yeah. He had like a full introduction of his life problems and everything like that. And it was like, why? He could have showed up as the homeowner, been like, why are these people's stuff still here? Mm-hmm. And it would have made sense in the movie. It didn't need a hard cut to give him background. It needed a medium cut where he opens the door and realizes people's stuff are still there because he owns the house.
Yeah. And on top of that, his whole background as being a rapist doesn't add to the story in any way at all.
Except for the one scene where, like, the mother tries to force him to breastfeed, and it's like...
I did like that scene.
I liked it, too. It just was, like, him getting his comeuppance, kind of.
Yeah.
But there was also a lot of... I called it in my notes soft time between the horror, where it would, like, I guess it's more of a lull. Like, you'd get... And this is kind of fueled by the hard cuts. You get a really good piece of horror, where it was, like, a really good... like maybe back-to-back jump scare and like frighteningness, and then it would just immediately stop.
Yeah.
And I understand we want peaks and valleys, but it was really tore me in different directions. I was like, where am I going? I don't know how to feel, which is how we all walked away.
After that first like reveal where you realize it's the woman, even though the trailers all made you believe that it was Keith might be the bad guy.
A great red herring.
Yeah, but like as soon as you realize, oh god, it's the woman, it cuts to him like just singing along to the song. It's way too silly.
Yeah.
It wasn't a break from the action. It's really shot itself in the foot.
Yeah. So now I'm ready to talk about the hard cuts.
Okay.
I'm done with the plot.
They didn't do the first time jump until like 60% of the way through the movie.
They built up so much in this relationship between this couple and building the tension only for like 2 seconds of action to then you're sitting there going, we've watched probably half this movie already. You're telling me that I now have to learn about someone new?
Yeah, especially when he's as unlikable as AJ.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't say his name. Justin Long. Whenever it tried to set anything up, it did it really clumsily.
Yeah.
Like, when they were leaving, she's like, oh my god, that mom's so scary. And the homeless man's like, she's not even the worst thing down there. And it's like, oh, okay, that means that the serial killer's still down there. He was the guy who shot himself. I don't know if I said that. As soon as you see AJ, like, walking around with a gun, I'm like, oh, he's clearly gonna shoot her. It just didn't... Nothing really surprised me in terms of the plot. It was very straightforward.
Which, when done right, a straightforward plot is not a bad thing. It can be done well, but I don't think this plot did it.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say straightforward, a simple plot.
Yes, simple plots are fine.
So, I really am bothered by the second hard cut in this movie.
Back to the serial killer times in the 80s. Yeah.
Also, just the fact that the serial killer was, like, given a moment. Because, listen, like, it's fully explained that he kidnaps women, but we are given a full scene before that to see that he, convinces a woman to go into her house to unlock a window so he can, it's implied that he breaks in later and, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary. We could have been told, oh yeah, this serial killer owned this house. He kidnapped women. We still could have had that scene with Justin Long with the guy in bed. I don't think that would have, he would have watched the video.
I mean, that scene was totally unnecessary to begin with.
I don't understand why that guy was there. When they said that's not even the worst thing down there, I was assuming another creature like the mother was down there controlling her.
Mm-hmm. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. Or if the guy wasn't so old and he was actually threatening to them, would have been interesting. I feel like they didn't want to establish that. Instead, they wanted to focus on these main characters escaping, which is just, yeah. It kind of took away from the movie. I don't know.
So the ending was real bad. I don't even know what to say. There's just a scene where Justin Long kind of throws Tess quite some distance, like 15 feet, and she goes off the edge of the silo, and as she's falling, she looks up, and the fucking woman dives after her in the most comical swan dive off of, like, this tower you've ever seen.
It's way more than 15 feet. We're talking, like, maybe six stories up.
I mean, from the side, like, they're standing in the center at the top of the building, and he threw her towards the edge, which was 15 feet away from
okay,
where they're
okay, I see. And he's like, I barely touched you.
Yeah, I meant to hold on. By the way, that's another thing. Justin Long's character is so unlikable, it's, like, bizarre. They like, introduce him by saying, yeah, he's a rapist.
Okay, they could have just made his character an asshole and we wouldn't have liked him.
Yeah.
You don't need to give us a reason as being a rapist to say, oh, he's a bad person.
Yep.
You also don't need him throwing her off the edge. But, like...
That's my complaint, is every opportunity he has, he shoots her. Every opportunity he has to be unlikable, he's unlikable. They didn't even bother. Like... There's so many, yeah.
Sorry, I'm spoon feeding Carter right now.
Yeah, she's spoon feeding me that he's a bad, unlikable character.
It just, so unnecessary. I don't understand why they built this character out. I feel like we complain a lot that, characters aren't built out, like we don't like we can't relate to them and whatnot. This is the one character that does not need a full backstory, that does not need to be built out. He can be an asshole. They exist.
Yeah.
Just on their own. Like...
He didn't even need to be unlikable. Like, it didn't drive the plot or anything.
It had such little effect.
So then from there, most of my complaints are pretty minor. Their awkward acting kind of feels like bad acting. It's not, but, like...
Who are you thinking of? Like Tess and Keith?
Yeah, when they're, like, awkward around each other. They do a good job of acting like awkward people, but it sounds exactly like two people trying to pretend to be characters.
I guess. I kind of liked it because it was very natural to me to be like, I don't know. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed their awkward acting because it made sense. Like, they were, I mean, do I think Bill Skarsgård was maybe a little touch overboard? Maybe in some areas, especially with the tea. Mm-hmm. You want tea? Oh, I'm going to make you tea anyways. Like, yeah. But then again, like, if I'm nervous, like, that's what I would do.
That's fair.
So it's like, I'm an over-talker. Mm-hmm. So, to me, like, it made sense. And I liked it.
And my last complaint is just that the whole, like, first half of the movie was just that episode from Always Sunny where they're like, oops, we double booked you. I guess you'll have to share a bed with Dennis.
I don't watch Sunny.
You should. It's pretty good.
I've watched some, but like...
They have this whole scheme where they're like, Dennis is I'm gonna pretend to double book Dennis with this random woman. And that'll be their, like, meet cute in a rom-com. And then she brings her husband, and it gets even more complicated than that. That is literally just the start of the episode.
That's unsettling.
But it's like, between the shitty acting, I just could not get over the like, oh, you got double booked?
That's true.
I got double booked. Well, I hope we don't have to, sleep in the same bed like we're the characters from Leap Year. Which is, by the way, a great movie.
Leap Year is a good movie. Yeah, all right. I guess you have a point. I think there are some moments that aren't good, but I think they redeemed themselves for me. Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Leap Year after we finish this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
It's been a while since I've seen Leap Year, though, so I don't know how much I can add.
Okay, I just have a couple thoughts I want to add. So let's just get through this.
I also think I'm confusing it with
Fever Pitch.
No, Luck of the Irish, which is a Lindsay Lohan movie and not a.
You know what? They're both redheads. Yeah, I see.
They're also very not similar plots, but they.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways.
They have Irish women. How many movies? Possibly.
I don't know.
3?
Maybe 4.
Yeah.
Anyways, the last complaint I have is the layout of the movie. Mm-hmm. And I know we've talked about the hard cuts, but it really is just not good. It's not intuitive. Mm-hmm. Like, it just made no sense. And that's just where I'm going to leave it out. Let's get into the spooky.
The spooky!
Ooh.
So, the introduction of the woman is one of the scariest jump scares I've ever seen in my entire life. All the trailers led you to believe that either Keith was the bad guy or he was mentally ill or maybe there's something down there. Nothing prepared me for this tall, naked woman to sprint screaming out of the darkness and bash Keith's head against the wall.
Well, it's made even scarier because Keith is crawling on the ground.
Yeah.
So you're double not expecting this super Amazonian style woman, but also the way Keith crawls towards her, he crawls on all fours, but not on his knees. He is like full-fledged.
Yeah.
Like werewolfing, I guess. I don't know, but it was creepy as heck. And in the trailer, you think that he's attacking her, but in reality, he's asking for help.
It's a crazy person crawl.
Yes, yes, it is a crazy person crawl. So it was like mini jump scare with like big jump scare because this woman just like. Ah!
I literally had a note which was like, well, that was a lame jump scare let down, and then she goes boom, 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 and that was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It
was good. Listen, if you're gonna give a bad jump scare, better follow up with I want it to be a fake out.
Yeah.
Like, it was, whew. And then immediate heart. Well, actually, no, because she kills Keith,
and then it cut to
the kill.
Justin Long.
Her killing Keith was incredible. Mm-hmm. Ugh, so terrifying.
So, one of the other scenes I liked was they're in this kind of hole in the ground with like this cage grate over them, and you don't even see the woman, but you just kind of see her hair as she leans over, and that was terrifying.
Oh, she also brings out this giant baby bottle?
Yep.
Which I want to...
Full of, God, I hope it's milk.
I assume it is breast milk. And she just kind of... it was... Oh my God. Listen, horrifying. I understood why Justin Long did not drink the milk. But if someone is telling me to drink the milk because she wants you to be her baby and you'll live, I'm going to drink the milk. Are you telling me you would...
No, I'm grossed out. I'm not saying I disagree. That face I'm making is just me not liking the thought of... What has to be room temperature rancid breast milk.
Oh God, you're right. That's a good point.
And then I did like when he doesn't drink the milk, she like hauls him up and then tries to forcibly breastfeed him. I did like that was kind of a turn on a lot of movies use rape scenes as look how bad it is. And it's really just not great writing because it's like, yeah, that is bad. It's like having a character kick a puppy. It's like, yeah, we can all agree that's terrible. Anyway, she her trying to forcibly breastfeed him was kind of the gender turn of that, which I liked.
I did like that she tried to breastfeed him. I thought it was kind of interesting because it also sort of semi-humanized her. Like, she had one motivation, to feed her babies. And you're not going to take the bottle? Fine.
Yeah.
You get it the old-fashioned way. Deal with it. I mean...
That's, by the way, that's word for word what Ashley has said to me when I've been too drunk. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to drink this bottle of water.
I have never force-fed you water. Although Halloween, I might have to.
Yeah, we're going to get trashed.
I feel like...
I'm going to be throwing up vampire teeth for weeks.
How many vampire teeth are you planning on consuming?
All of them. I have at least 6.
You have 6?
Yeah, well, I'm going to wear 2, so 4, but... But I will swallow them, yeah.
Do you think you're going to swallow?
No, I mean, like, intentionally. Like a pill. I'm going to swallow them.
You're ridiculous. So, I mean, overall, this movie was pretty scary.
Yeah, but...
as someone who gets scared easily, I thought it was pretty scary. I did not love from a horror perspective, I really loved the basement tunnels. As a person, I did not love the basement tunnels. I'm sorry. I just can't get over the fact that she just was like, yeah, I gotta go save him. I would just be like, nope, I'm out of there. She went down the stairs and saw cages with holes in them, assuming that people were put in those, right? Because we saw the bed in the camera.
Yeah.
She just walks right past them. But also, we didn't even touch, hold on, we need to go back to the bath. We didn't even touch upon how AJ started measuring the basement.
Oh, yeah. He was like...
It was stupid. And it was like, oh, let's add a little humor. Because he brings out his measuring tape and is like, extra room? Can I include this in the listing?
But it also just adds to him being like just the most unlikable character. Just by any metric, he's unlikable.
He starts measuring around the cages.
He's not
it was like,
funny. He's not brave. He's not clever. He just is just... There's nothing to like about him.
But it's not done in a good way either. Like, it's just kind of mediocre. If you want to establish a character not to like, you can do it really well. Mm-hmm. But they just are like, we'll just make him do all this crappy stuff so that you know he's bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
God, it was so much, too.
But yeah, I hated the basement. The mother was terrifying. The jump scares... all landed really well.
Yeah, they were
for the most part. Mm-hmm. I would say 80% landed well.
Yeah. They were really good.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. My overall notes about this movie was just that it had all the pieces it needed to be a great horror movie, but it couldn't even put them together to be a good horror movie. It was just jumble of puzzle pieces thrown at you. And people... will say they enjoyed this movie because they're afraid to be like, oh, I couldn't solve the puzzle. There's nothing to solve. It's just a nightmare jumble of trash.
All right. So my impression, here's the thing. I have a hard time forming an opinion about this movie because on one hand, I thought it was scary and the horror elements were really good. On the other hand, the plot is bad.
Yeah.
So you sit there and it's just like, I don't know how to feel. Because I want to encourage the horror aspect and discourage the plot and tell you that it's bad. So I sit here like, what to do? I mean, I think it kind of is a good middle marker for horror in terms of plot versus horror.
Sure, yeah.
If the plot is better than this movie, we've said this about other movies though.
Well, I don't think the plot itself is a good middle marker. I think the plot is bad. If the plot is better than this movie, it's not necessarily a good plot.
That's a good point.
And if the horror is worse than this movie, it's not necessarily bad horror.
I guess so. Then I guess it's not a middle marker. Yeah, it just doesn't know where to exist.
Yeah.
But I do think anyone who's interested in horror movies, a good case study for this movie in terms of jump scares and horror. Carter's yawning. He's tired.
I'm wrapped up in my blankie.
If you just hear snoring, it's because Carter fell asleep while recording. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to study good jump scares and horror, watch it. If not, it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. So my Joseph DeSasio memorial line highlight is a quote from the breastfeeding movie that the lady was watching. This process might seem overwhelming, but with a little practice, it can soon become a pleasurable experience. This is perfectly natural. That's really just the horror experience. It's garbage, but you know, if you do it enough, you might enjoy it. Anyway,
Are we there yet?
we'll see. So now I'm ready to talk about leap year.
Oh wait, do we want to give our ratings?
Oh yeah. All right, I give mine a 3 conversations about leap year.
I give it a 4. Go for a leap year.
Right. So
good lord, we don't even need extra content.
Leap year, yeah, no, this in particular is a pretty good episode. So leap year, you know, I'm not even gonna explain the plot. If you haven't seen Leap Year, you're just gonna miss out on this. So at the end, when she spoilers about Leap Year, by the way, when her husband was like, "Oh, I invited you to I asked you to marry me so that we could apply for the apartment and get it." That was too much. Like, those two, like, oh, look how insincere he is. But I really did like when she pulled the fire alarm and it was like to see what was important to him. That was good. I liked that. But I really didn't care for the like, oh, I only married you for the apartment, babe.
It's been too long. I thought if you talked about it, I could remember.
What was your favorite part about Leap Year?
Jesus Christ, Carter, I just told you I don't remember.
Yeah, I want to know what you do remember. What was the best part?
I remember nothing. I remember Amy Adams is in it and the attractive male.
Do you have any idea?
Listen, I haven't watched this since it has to be middle school. Like, it's been over 10 years.
I wasn't allowed to watch it. There's too much sex in it.
See, it's a rom-com. My mom was like, yeah, we can watch this together.
Yeah. We can really see how we were brought up. It's like violence, whatever. Your parents are like, sex, it's okay.
I told you about, I think I've already talked about this, about how I went and saw a girl with a dragon tattoo in middle school.
Oh my god, yeah, that would have fucked me up. That was a difficult movie to watch.
Yeah, no, not good. Although my dad, after reading so I read all the Twilight books in middle school, right. And my dad read them after me, which was a good thing because he read Breaking Dawn after me. And after he read Breaking Dawn, he was like, I got some books that were donated to me. And he was like, I need to go through these first. And he picked out all the ones that I couldn't read and put them on a shelf in like the other room. And I was like,
books are like, I truly believe you can give a child a book about anything and it would be okay. It's not a movie. It's like, you need to be actively engaged with the book. And when things are like really intense, you can just not.
I don't think he realized that we watched Leap Year and there was sex in it. I don't think there was graphic sex in it. I think it was just sexy situations. Like when she was what was it? She walked in on him when he was in the shower or something like that. Oh.
I'm pretty sure that was all the sex of the movie.
That's literally nothing.
They slept in the same bed, maybe. Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Still sort of coming back to me, but again, it's been too long. I remember weird random movies. This is just not one of them.
So yeah, we'll find it.
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. I could rewatch it tonight if I wanted to.
You should.
All right.
It's okay. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, but we are very excited for next week's movie.
Mm-hmm. With any luck, hopefully you're not hearing this 4 weeks after we record it, but with any luck, we will be watching Smile next week.
I'm so excited.
Less than 7 days after it comes out, we will have our episode out.
Oh, for sure. That's like immediate.
Yeah.
We need to get a move on for this movie.
Let me put it this way. There's a higher chance of you listening to Smile first than hearing us talk about how you're about to listen to Smile. What's
going to be great is that we've told them they're going to listen to Cabin in the Woods and that they're going to listen to Jennifer's Body. They're not getting Jennifer's Body, by the way. Because Ian and I did not do that.
That's going straight to the back burner, too. It's like...
Apparently, it's considered horror. Anyways.
I mean... Which one did you end up watching?
We watched Ouija Origin of Evil, which was a better choice.
Well, yeah, that's horror, but Jennifer's Body is also horror, I would say.
Yeah,
All
but Jennifer's Body was for Fiona because she doesn't do super scary.
She would have loved that.
Yeah.
Shame.
Well, next time you
next time I die.
to disappear on me.
Get caffeine poisoning in the state of Texas. Which is my favorite novel by Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay. Anyways, we've never promised Barbarian. And
yet.
yeah, here we are. Like, our schedule is all messed up. But next week, as in October, whatever date, beginning first week of October, will be Smile.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that timeline before we start making some promises.
I'm pretty sure it's the first week of October because it comes out on September 28th. So it would be October 6th, 7th? 5th. Okay, well, 5th. I was close with my first guess.
Absolutely yikes.
I'm sorry. You have your phone to check it while I just went off the fact that I have a concert on the 29th, and we're watching it the day before, and then...
You have a concert on the 30th.
Shoot, you're right. So we're watching it on the 20th.
I never looked at her tickets, and I know what her schedule
it's on Friday.
Like. Anyway.
What's on the 29th then?
Thursday.
Okay, whatever.
That's when we're watching it, because that's when...
Yeah, no, I know that.
Okay. All right, well, we talked about Barbarian. We talked about Leap Year. Talked a little bit about Smile, which I'm really excited for.
I think we've accomplished a lot today.
Yep.
On that note, thank you all for listening. Please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Rating, reviewing gives us a lot of momentum to reach some new listeners. Also, we want to hear your feedback. So I'd really love to know what you think. And also, if you have any recommendations of movies you want us to do, you can find us on Instagram at Horror Sucks Podcast. Feel free to shoot me a message. If you say that you listen and that, you have a recommendation, I will respond. I will not respond to hello or a weird link. Please stop sending me them.
I will say that every time you send a suggestion for a movie, that's one more step between Ashley and I and happiness of getting to watch the movies we want.
I don't know. What do we want to watch?
I don't know. We watched Cabin in the Woods. We had to push a couple movies back for that.
Fair. But
we had to push back exactly 7 Friday the 13th movies. Which are coming,
no
by the way.
one asked for that.
I did.
Yeah, you're right. All right, well, we will get to it. Should we save that for November?
I don't. What, Friday the 13th? We'll get to it when we get to it.
All right. Listen, I'm wearing my new Friday the 13th shirt.
I know, it's very cool looking.
I vibe. Okay, we gotta stop talking. But anyways, find us on Instagram, Horror Sucks Podcast. Also, you can email me, horrorsuckspodcast@gmail.com.
There you go.
I don't know. All right, and with that note, again, thank you for listening, and
stay spooky.
Horror Sucks
is brought to you
by
what?
Are we really gonna do this? Fine. Horror Sucks is brought to you by Wild Thing Media. Music and production done by
Ashley Atkins.
And editing done by Carter Rhodes. Thanks
for listening.